Hello and Happy New Year to you. As we like to say around here at Trinity, welcome to the land of January. It's kind of a mythical place where our imaginations live. But as we are here and it is New Year's and you're here with us on New Year's, we'd like to just take a few moments. Rebecca and I would like to take a few moments to think about 2023 and some of the stuff that happened, some of the things that we dreamed about in the land of January 2023, and some of the things that came to fruition. And Rebecca made a whole list of some of the stuff that we did this past year. This isn't everything, but it's a lot of the things. And we'd like to give you a recap, and hopefully you remember a few of these things. But as we are here back in January and looking back, we're thinking about all this stuff and
no wonder we're tired.
No wonder we're tired.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
There is a lot of stuff going on here in your church, and we just like to recap of it. A couple of the things early on, we had a Sing for Joy Hymn Fest back in February, Mardi Gras jazz concert in February, and then last year in February, late February, we had our 7th year of Ashes to Go over at Parkview Field. And this past year, we had, interestingly, more people than we ever had before.
Yes.
And it's important to remember that Ashes to Go, 7 years, and we didn't even miss the time during pandemic time.
No.
So,
no.
Yeah, there you have it.
This coming year, though, Ashes to Go on Valentine's Day. Make a note.
Make a note. Ashes to Go.
Then we did those side-by-side presentations. Mm-hmm. We invited the community in to listen to local experts, help us better understand our community. Everything from human trafficking to addictions and recovery, a bias toward unhoused neighbors, how to respect gender identity, a reminder that everyone has trauma.
Right, and all of those were really very interesting, especially if you had the chance to be with us, just the people who came, and sometimes just things that you were aware of, but not really aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember I remember particularly the whole conversation about human trafficking, that there's this thought that human trafficking means you get snatched and taken to Thailand.
Right.
But
turns out
that that could be, but.
Yeah, but it could be somebody in your family or a friend's parent or something is grooming you, and yes, indeed, it does happen in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Cameron Shackelford is the one who spoke about that. That was so interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, and then it feels like a lot of the year was taken up with icons in transformation.
Oh my gosh.
We had Mila come over from Sweden, but she's Kazakhstani by birth, and her husband Jan. They were here for several weeks. We set up an exhibition, invited people in, had more than 50 volunteers and hundreds of shifts, and I think 1,000+ visitors to the exhibition.
Right.
That was all through this building, remember?
It really was all through this building. And we hope that if you came and participated or you came and volunteered, it was just this beautiful, seamless event of art filling up this whole building complex. And we are here to tell you, we thought that it was just going to be this lovely art-filled building complex. And there were days like,
well, people came with the art.
What the heck are we doing here?
But it was cool though. And,
it was great.
People got to see a lot of neat things. So that was cool.
Yeah. As we know, hunger continues to be part of the story of our broader community here in Fort Wayne. We continue to hear from our friends at Community Harvest that the need for food resources is greater than it has ever been. And that's a little bit startling because we heard just eye-popping numbers during pandemic time about people's needs and need for food and need for access for food. That need has not gone down. But one of the amazing things is how much all of us together here at Trinity, all of you working together here in this place, have worked hard to, at least in a small way, and for people who can come to us, alleviate questions of hunger. Not alleviate, but help remember people who are hungry and help to do what we can to help people with hunger. over this past year, we collected with Community Harvest more than 1,500 pounds of food through several food drives. And that's more than we've ever done before here in this place. And your generosity and paying attention to that issue, all of that food that we collect here stays in this community, helping people who are hungry in this particular community.
And one thing, our friend Don Terry, who works at Community Harvest, told a little story that has stuck with me about, Community Harvest, for the most part, supports working poor families. People who are doing everything they can and they still can't quite make enough to put food on the table for the family. And when we think about, well, why is this not getting any better? He told us that a couple years ago, Community Harvest distributed 14 million tons of food, 14 million tons of food. Last year, 11 million tons of food. And that's not because the need went down. It's because the resources dwindled. A lot of the large retailers like Walmart and Meijer, Kroger, they would give their excess food to Community Harvest to be distributed to families. But because those businesses are now under mandate to reduce waste, they have to order in a more diminished number of product. So they don't have as much left over, and it was never waste, it was food for people who needed it. But now that they're trying to comply with laws, it falls even more on some of us to help if we can, because there's a large gap.
Yeah, there is a big gap. But to remember that all of that food that comes here goes to our friends and neighbors here in this community, and helps people here in our city. But that's not the generosity of people here. We know that, as you know, we do community dinner on Thursday night. We have this whole bevy of volunteers, of cookers and kitchen workers and servers. We've served about 5,000 people this past year. 5,000 people, right? That's kind of a biblical number. Jesus maybe did it once. It took us a whole year, but that's kind of cool.
That also means our volunteers wash that many dishes, which my hat's off to you.
Yes, you wash that many dishes, you serve that many plates, you package that many meals. It's this remarkable and beautiful thing that happens on a week in, week out basis. One of the things too is that some of those volunteers even got together and got some of their friends and knitted more than 100 hats and scarves and things such as mittens that got distributed to some of the people who come to be with us. That, again, this sort of beautiful generosity that is extended to our whole community. And that's not all. If you come by on Wednesday around lunchtime, on our parking lot, we're together with a variety of community partners that provides lunch to anybody who walks by on Wednesdays. And that's between 40 and 80 people. When the weather's really, really bad, it's sometimes inside in the front gathering area. The third Wednesday of the month, it's over at the library, again, with a variety of people and a variety of community partners that provide resources and access to resources. It's called Handing Out Hope. But those lunches are always provided by downtown restaurants and communities. That's sponsored by our friends at Just Neighbors. But community helpers do that. So while that need is huge, and we really at Trinity don't solve that problem, but we are a bit of the answer of that problem in this community for a lot of people, thanks to your generosity and your help and your support and your volunteering.
And some of our church community, some of our congregation, back in March, the Chancel Choir and some other folks traveled to New York City and got to sing at Carnegie Hall.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Practice, practice, practice.
Or get on the bus and Bob Hobby will take you there.
Yes. And I think our choir was part of a multitude of choirs singing a requiem, John Ritter's requiem. So that's kind of cool to get to say you've been on the Carnegie stage. And then we've got, speaking of music, so we have Fridays in May and Fridays in September concerts at noon, and those are seeing about 110 folks each. And every week is a different set of musicians, different style of music, and it's completely free. So look for those Fridays in May, Fridays in September. They've been going on for many years, and I don't think we're going to see the end of them soon. So put that on your calendars for this year. And then in May Music Fest, which is a big deal, first Sunday in May usually, one of the featured groups is our handbells. Our handbell, I don't know if you call them a handbell choir. They're amazing, super talented.
Amazing.
And this past May, they got to debut a new work that was commissioned in honor of Shannon Hardick, who is the director of the handbells. And that was a piece with orchestra that was really impressive and lovely.
Yeah.
So we've been doing a lot of music stuff. Oh, and then in November, they did Chancel Choir and Orchestra led an All Saints evening prayer service where we recall all those who've gone before us,
those
the
who
saints.
died in the past year. Beautiful time here in the nave on a Sunday, late afternoon, early evening. But there are a lot of, as you know, a lot of musical groups that go through here. But if you've ever had a chance to watch or hear the handbells, I have to admit, I always thought it was kind of a silly way to make music, because you have only, one or two bells. But they really do an amazing job.
Yes. And the bells go from teeny tiny to great big.
I know.
And it's fun
It's
to
a lot
watch.
of fun. It's a lot of fun to be here.
And it sounds cool.
Yeah. Yes. So hopefully you're here at some point when they actually play. But another thing that went on, if you remember, we were part of, again, Be a Tourist in Your Own Hometown. This past year, that was the very end of the art show. So it was we opened up, we were here for the community to come in one last time to see the art that was filling up the whole building again. There was stuff out on the street. There was face painting out there. There was a petting zoo. There was my very best pal, Roscoe the camel.
The petting zoo is a big thing for you.
No,
the camel.
The camel is a big thing. Well, it is a big thing. Have you ever seen a camel?
He eats our tree twice a year,
He prunes our tree a little bit over there. But also, if you were down here, hopefully you got a hot dog. If you didn't get a hot dog, you were about the only person in the city who did not get a hot dog. I heard there was 800.
I don't know. It was a ton.
A ton of hot dogs.
A whole bunch of hot dogs.
Got handed out.
And vegan hot dogs.
But one of the things also we did was we had some sponsored tours up to the tower. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And a few people, I think Barb Mangus was one of them, actually, no, it was Mary Wagmeister. How many trips up and down the tower did she do?
Oh, I forgot how many she said, but she got a whole bunch of steps going up to the tower.
There's 72 steps to the top of the tower.
You could go up to the tower and take pictures with your phone of the vista before you. And that, I can't remember, we had a certain number of folks sign up ahead of time, and then we had a whole bunch that day. And that seemed to be quite a draw.
It was a lot of fun. If you've never had a chance to do that, let us know. We can, when the weather is okay, we can make arrangements. I can take you up.
It's a really tight spiral staircase to get up there, but once you're up there, you can see forever.
Yeah, you really can. It's kind of cool down here. So that was a lot of fun, right? A lot of fun. But then because we've had fun doing some things here with our broader community, we had a second, I don't know, is it going to be annual? We don't know.
What?
Wait till next year. The pumpkin composting.
Oh, yeah.
Pumpkin composting. And people, I don't know, do you remember? It was 100 pumpkins.
100 pumpkins and 20 gourds or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, some of you brought your pumpkins from Halloween.
Yeah.
And we collected them all together, and they're going to become compost. They're going to become food for animals at Rick Ritter's farm.
Yeah.
And he takes rescue animals, rescue farm animals. And so a lot of that goes into helping that.
We had s'mores. The hair bus came. Some kids got their hair cut on a bus. Brava's food truck came. And
there was a DJ there.
It was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But before that, we had Fright Night. We participated in the downtown Fright Night and invited the weather. If you recall, the weather was kind of dicey this year, a little cold, a little wet, a little gross. But we did still have a lot of folks come through, and our face painters painted them for the zombie walk and had spooky music playing and candy. And so that was another way to welcome people in and say hi.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. All of that, a lot of those were family-oriented kind of things. And really this year, it was as if we have seen a lot of the work, a lot of people, a lot of our staff has been working on children and families and reaching out to children and families and creating an environment and programs aimed specifically at families, generally with younger children. And this was the year that we really started to see this kind of begin to come to fruition. And I guess the words you really could use is take off. And so if you haven't been able to be part of any of those kinds of things, I'm just here to tell you there is a boatload of little kids running around this place again. And that's all due to the good work that Amy Henderson Hill and Megan Doring, and before Megan, Aaron Kircher they've been working at this now for several years, but all of a sudden we're seeing the fruition of all of this. So you might know we have Waffle Church first and third Sundays of the month, and it's now gotten that the number of people at Waffle Church is between 70 and 80. And of that 70,
I hear the waffles are delicious.
And the waffles are really good. So it's worth coming for the waffles. It's worth coming for kind of the children's chaos isn't quite the right word. I mean, it's families, it's kids having a good time. Yeah, it's kids, 30.
But it's an actual church service.
Yeah,
it's just more casual.
Much more casual, but also then children interactive there, Eucharist, and 30, 35 kids under the age of 5.
And they're adults.
And they're adults.
You don't drop them off.
They don't drop them off, they come in. And so it's kind of beautiful seeing those things happen. Sunday school has grown to a couple of dozen now, kids on a regular basis, a number of teachers coming to help with that. The children's choir, we have if you've noted, we have a new children's choir director, Emily Bird. And again, we're seeing, through Emily's work, more children coming to become part of all of those sort of things. So it's really exciting. Some people have noted that on Sunday, if you're in here at 10:30, there's any number of families.
Well, in the Wednesday E3 program, which is a fine arts program for children, we have music and creative arts as part of that, and that program is growing and expanding, and they have pulled in some amazing community talent to be part of that. Christmas Eve, we had the impromptu pageant and ran out of costumes. There were so many kids. That was fun.
I mean, if you were here, there was one small boy who was I think he was 3, he was in a lion costume because, of course, there was a lion.
At the Nativity.
At Bethlehem.
Sure there was.
Of course there was a lion. And so he was kind of here, and all of these little kids peeking in to see baby Jesus. And that's
fun.
I mean, it wasn't just chaotic. It was just a lot of excited families. And again, they ran out. We had to go scourge around and find a few more angel costumes and shepherd costumes to get everybody who wanted to be part of that.
Nice.
We ran out. What a cool thing.
Nice.
I mentioned Emily, who came and was part of our staff and joined us this past year. Her husband, Dan Schwant, is our new associate. He and Emily are interim, and we're working towards how they might become more full-time, but Dan was also here with us. We had a call process, and we welcomed our deacon, Mary Lassitz, onto our staff back in November. And as we're moving forward, you're going to hear a lot more from Deacon Mary, because one of the things she is trying to do is help all of us be more involved in our life here and helping us develop our human resources, if you may, and a few financial resources. So when you see her, don't walk away. She has something to offer to you. Megan Doring came on board at the end of this summer as a full-time children's ministry coordinator, director. And when we mean that, we're talking about basically children 5th grade and younger and their families. And Megan took over from Aaron Kircher, but Megan is now full-time because as we said earlier, all of these.
The position demands it now.
Yeah, all of these families, all of these little kids who are running around in this place. And we were also pleased, if any of you remember our good friend Michaela Tedder, who went off to do other things and found her way back to us as our creative director, social media manager. Again, anything that looks nice around here, that's in graphics, our website, all of that sort of stuff, that's all thanks to Michaela, and it's good to have her back.
Yes, and one of the things that you may have seen of Michaela's creativity is the Advent devotional booklet. We distributed more than 400 copies of 2 versions of her original design. It's filled with visual sticker. You get to form a whole little nativity scene with stickers that she not only designed but also cut out and made very accessible for you to use. Pastor curated the daily devotions, and it's been very well received, and we're lucky to be able to have things like that to share. We also did the 81st annual candlelight service, first Sunday in December, which is always a big draw. It's musically rich, and of course just the candles as part of the service help kind of get you in that holiday frame of mind. And just as exciting as the service is the after service cookie reception, which I think they requested 50 dozen homemade cookies and got more than they asked for. There were cookies out the windows around here.
We ate cookies for a long time.
Yeah, but they're also good. They're also good. And then Emily Bird and Amy and Megan took the E3 kids and families to the townhouse, residential village for seniors, and they did intergenerational Christmas caroling. I know that Bob and Jenny Hobby invited current and former cancer patients to sing carols and Christmas songs at the Parkview Cancer Institute. So we've been trying to take our music show on the road a little bit. And then one of the big things at the end of the year that we've done is to acknowledge the 800th anniversary of St. Francis first putting together a live nativity scene. He, back in 1223, wanted people to get some feel for what it must have been like that very first Christmas in Bethlehem. And we asked the congregation if they had any nativities they'd like to loan, and you all came through like gangbusters. And if you haven't had a chance to walk through the 58 plus nativities that are out in our gathering space, they'll be up, I think, through Epiphany. But they are lovely. There's nativities from all over the world. Different congregants who loaned us their sets gave us a little bit of the story behind them. There's a 78-year-old woman who loaned us her grandmother's nativity set, which is kind of fun to look at. And there's different African and Asian and South American culturally appropriate nativities.
And children's nativities.
Oh, and children's nativities too. Yeah. It's just all really fun. So we thank you for loaning them to us, and it has been a really well-received display.
Lots of people. Probably all of you have taken time to go through and look at those and just appreciate and enjoy and be enriched by that. Just a couple of things left. The lights before Christmas. A couple of weeks before Christmas, 16th and 17th, I think it was, of December, there was a light projection and live music show here in the nave, kind of turned the whole nave space into a kaleidoscope. And that was a lot of fun. And to see how that whole light show thing was able to be expanded. And we're looking forward to how do we imagine that in even a bigger way, in a continued expanded sort of way. And one of the last things for this year has been the Angel Tree Project, and we have been collecting an offering for Youth Services Bureau for backpacks for unaccompanied youth, fundamentally youth, high school age youth who have nobody in their lives. And these packs are to be a bit of hope and a bit of resource to these kids, and they number in the hundreds in our community. And we did this offering, and if you're watching we know you're watching this, we're going to reveal the number, and we far exceeded our goal. I mean, your generosity again was just exceptional, far exceeded your willingness to be open and caring for.
I love Trinity's people.
Yeah. I mean,
Responded
your
so-
generosity far exceeded anything anybody really could have imagined.
And you're going to present a check to the Youth Services Bureau during the 10:30 church service on this coming
January
Sunday.
7th. Yes, on January 7th.
Yeah.
And the number is just, it really is a kind of a eye-popping sort of thing.
It'll help a lot of kids.
It'll help a lot of kids, and you touch the lives of literally hundreds of young people here in this community, allowing them to remember that they're not forgotten. But, so that's 2023. That's...
and now...
and we know that, you know, and they're just like the regular things that go on. You know, people get visited, church happens, la 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 la. You know, all that kind of stuff.
People get confirmed, they get
baptized, babies. You know, funerals happen, all of those sorts of things. But now we are in the land of January 2024, and looking forward to what this year has to bring, and looking forward to 12 months from now when we will be back here rattling off this list of but come and join us, come and be part of the things that happen here, the things, hard work that takes place here, the joyful work, the multifaceted work that happens here in your church that you help make possible because you pray for us, you support us with your time, you support us with your offerings. You make all of these things don't happen without you and your lives and the things that you help make possible here in this place.
There's always room for you.
There is, and there is a ton of room for you here in this place. So we look forward to seeing you over the course of this year, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.